Hey everyone, how's it going? Today I want to talk about Watch Dogs 2, my impressions of the game. I've been playing the game for a couple days now, have about 17 hours into the game, and only am about halfway through. Now, for those of you who are unaware, I was actually a huge fan of the original Watch Dogs. I actually liked the game despite its shortcomings. I know a lot of people thought it was ultimately disappointing, but I think it really just came down to people's crazy expectations, and because the game didn't graphically look up to par like the way it was advertised, I think a lot of people just threw the game off based on that alone, and not the fact that it actually was a decent open world game with some pretty cool new twist on the open world formula. So with Watch Dogs 2, this game actually released with virtually no hype around it. I mean, I know people who pretty much just skipped on the game entirely. And to be honest, it wasn't really talked about that much leading up to its release. I think that Ubisoft was a little bit worried, like, oh, if we actually talk about this game, we advertise it, then people are just gonna get pissed. So I rarely saw advertising on this game. It was just like, oh, it was announced at E3, it's coming out at the end of the year. Here it is, Watch Dogs 2. But I actually think that they did a pretty damn good job on the sequel here. They actually improved on a lot of what was wrong with the original game, and just further, made the whole process and all your items and gears and whatnot. They just made it a much deeper, more engaging process overall. And I'm actually really enjoying my time with this game. So I want to talk about the graphics first. This game's gorgeous. I mean, I know this isn't of the same quality level as the photorealism we saw with the original Watch Dogs, right? We're still not quite there yet where you had a perfect blend between CG graphics and pretty much the original Watch Dogs. I mean, that first gameplay really blew you away, right? But we're not quite there yet. But what we do have here is a very, very well optimized game that looks and pushes the boundaries graphically. I mean, I'm running this on a GTX 1080, all right? That's a $700 graphics card. And right now I'm playing the game at 1440p, and I can't even max the game out. Like, there are settings and quality levels that I have to turn down to, not just from or ultra to high, but from all the way down to like medium, and in some cases turn some settings off. It's quite nuts what's kind of going on here with the graphics, because on the surface it's actually a really well optimized game. It runs well, it doesn't hitch or it doesn't have any of the huge issues that the PC version of the original Watch Dogs had when it launched. They really worked a lot on their engine, and it looks really good. I mean, even on the consoles, you got a nice graphical bump, because the original Watch Dogs ran at 900p on PS4. Now that's upgraded to 1080p on that console, and vice versa on Xbox One. It's upgraded from 900p to 720p from the original Watch Dogs. So you got some really nice upgrades and graphics on all platforms, which is great. So that being said, I mean, I'm just really impressed with what I'm seeing. There's a lot of times where I just kind of stop and I look around, and they just did a really good job. One of the biggest changes that I like in terms of the visuals were the change to in-game cutscenes, in-game engine cutscenes. Typically in the last Watch Dogs, what we had were videos that would play, and they would just basically seamlessly blend into the actual in-game content. But you actually have cutscenes that are in-game in this one, and yeah, there's still some CG videos and whatnot, but a lot of that is really blended very nicely, and we got a really nice amount of in-game cutscenes, in-engine cutscenes, which just look fantastic, and it really shows off the character animations really well, and just how the game overall looks and behaves. I mean, keep in mind that unlike the original Watch Dogs, they didn't have to worry about PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360 or Wii U. Those are last gen systems technically, and with that being said, they want to get the original Watch Dogs on all platforms. So I really think that kind of hurt the graphical presentation. So in terms of the story and what we got, I mean, this is a more not so serious narrative here. It's sort of this you're playing as this very energetic protagonist who's kind of hip, and he's very young. He's probably a couple years older than I am, to be quite honest, but he's very enjoyable. I actually like Marcus Holloway a lot. He's a really enjoyable character to listen to. He's actually written very well, so he has some great dialogue and some great jokes that he'll crack and whatnot. And he's just a really a pleasure to play. You know, I wasn't so I didn't think Aiden Pierce was so unlikable. I know a lot of people just thought that he was like the most boring person on earth. I didn't agree with that. I thought he was actually, pretty decent as a character, and I kind of liked his facade of this. Okay, he's this very tough, very quiet, very, kind of brute type of person. And I thought it kind of worked well with that tone of the game. With this one, again, I think that they nailed the character and the tone perfectly. It's very well. All the characters, for that matter, are just very well written, and they all have a good spot in the story, and no one really feels like they've been wasted or just unused yet. Everyone has and fulfills some sort of purpose. So in terms of the story, I mean, I'm not super invested to the point where I feel like emotionally involved or anything like that. It's not deep like that, but it is fun, and it is a good, it is an enjoyable story to watch. I'll just put it that way. It gets you from A to B, but it's enjoyable to listen to, enjoyable to watch, and you like seeing these characters and cutscenes and whatnot. And each one is unique in their own personal way. Now, talking about the gameplay here, well, I mean, it's to say this is like just a copy and paste would be an understatement. They really kind of took the formula of the original Watch Dogs and they basically said, let's just put more control in the player's hands. And so instead of having these one button presses, which are still present, in this game, mind you, but in the original Watch Dogs, everything was just you pressing and holding a button for a certain amount of time to activate a certain I guess a certain feature that object or whatever electronic device had at that time. So this one you actually have more control. So where in the original Watch Dogs you could hack a crane lift and it would lift you up and down from that fixed position, in this Watch Dogs you can actually hack the crane lift, move the crane lift around, actually control it like you're driving a car, and then control how high or how low it goes. And it's a great, it just really opens the door for a lot of puzzle mechanics, and I love the puzzles in this game. There's these great puzzles that you actually have to get on some of these high skyscrapers, right? And you're looking at this, you're just like, I don't know how to get there, and then then you realize like, oh shit, there's a crane over here at the next block over. I'll just hack this crane and I'll drive it across the street, and then I'll use it to lift myself up to this one roof. Then you get on top of the roof of the building, and you realize that there's all these other parkour puzzles that you have to get to your objective, and it's a lot of fun. It's really engaging. It really forces you to think about what you want to do and how you want to go about your missions and whatnot. And keep in mind, this is a very much still a play at your own type of style game. You can still go into this completely stealth and actually not kill anybody. You actually have a taser now. So it's pretty cool, a stun gun they call it. But so you can actually walk into an area with armed guards and just take down everyone silently and non-lethally. So you don't actually have to be a killer if you don't want to. But there's still a large arsenal of weapons. Now that they've actually added a 3D printer, you can now actually customize your weapons almost completely. There's like certain weapons that are like dead sec weapons that you actually have to spend and save up a lot of money to get, and then there are certain weapons like police weapons, and those are your standard assault rifles and pistols and whatnot. And each weapon sort of has its own stat and is useful in different situations. I actually like the inclusion of the 3D printer because a lot of people don't understand this, but 3D printing is going to be coming a long way, and it's a really interesting technology, and the type of stuff that 3D printing can make is absolutely incredible. It really is. So it actually makes sense in this type of game where it's the near future, and we have 3D printers and whatnot. It makes sense that they would use it to upgrade their weapons and guns and whatnot, and that it works extremely well. So really, when it comes down to the gameplay of Watch Dogs 2, it's a lot of fun. It's more deeper, and it's just a lot more complex than the first game ever was. And because of that, there's just so many more opportunities for you to approach your missions. There's so many opportunities for more puzzle mechanics and stuff that they've added. It's a lot of fun, and I absolutely love this city. I want to talk about the city next, because San Francisco, I mean, I've been to San Francisco a couple times, so I'm familiar with the city. I actually have some family that lives outside of the city area, um, and even some friends of mine who live around the Bay Area. And I absolutely, it's a joy to walk around this city, in real life. San Francisco is a really fun city. It's a really, it's a cool city, especially to walk around and take pictures. It's just a really awesome place to be. So in the game, it's even more awesome because what we do have here that we didn't have in Chicago was a very colorful color palette. Very vibrant, very bright, very very vivid, and it really helps bring out the art direction of the game. In fact, I think that because this game took a more bright approach to its world design, we actually have better visuals as an overall in our game experience. Because in the previous Watch Dogs, it was very dark a lot of the times, and yeah, you had these bright moments, but Chicago at times appeared very, I don't want to say bland, but a lot samey. You actually had this outside portion of the city, which was all about, it was more about the poor district, and then you had like the main city. But a lot of that to me felt very similar. I didn't really get much. As hard as they tried to get variety in, I didn't get that much in. But with San Francisco here, the type of architectural buildings, the different districts that are around in the city, it's just a much more just beautiful city and more fun city to explore overall. It's a lot of fun. I absolutely love the city of Watch Dogs 2, San Francisco. They did a fantastic job recreating it, and it's just really been a pleasure to go ahead and play and watch through and whatnot. It's been a lot of fun. So I want to end my impressions just on this note, saying that I'm very pleased with Watch Dogs 2. I like the improvements they made to the game a lot. I think it works out extremely well. I love the world it takes place in. I'm enjoying playing as this more energetic character, and even all the characters for that matter. I mean, Watch Dogs 1 had a really good supporting cast, and I think that they still retain that this time. They just really nailed down at least a decent protagonist that you actually want to play as, and you don't mind hearing and whatnot. He's not like annoying in any way. So that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed my video. If you guys have been playing Watch Dogs 2, you did play Watch Dogs 2 when it was new, let me know, and let me know what you guys think. I'm really interested to see what you guys have to say about the game. I'm just trying to get through my backlog at the moment, so before I jump into any 2017 games, I'd like to get through my 2016 games. That way, I can go into 2017 with a clear head, and I don't have all these games sitting on my shelf that are just collecting dust, waiting for me to play them and whatnot. So I will talk with you all later. Thank you all so much for watching, and have a good one.